Even though we're not in a romantic relationship, we're a true family, and we like to do things to reinforce that we're a family for the children and for each other, and he's...
Gwyneth Paltrow finally revealed why she really left Chris Martin. It was March 2014 when Gwyneth Paltrow posted the essay on her own website, and the internet exploded before she could even finish her coffee. Conscious uncoupling. 2 words. 2 words that would be mocked on late-night television for years, turned into memes, twisted into a punchline by comedians and columnists and strangers at dinner tables who decided that the woman who used them must be the most insufferable person alive. A wealthy actress so detached from reality that she could not even get divorced like a normal person. Everyone laughed. Everyone assumed she was being precious again, wrapping her failed marriage in wellness language and expecting the world to applaud. But nobody stopped to ask the obvious question. Why would a woman announce the end of her marriage using words she knew the world would ridicule? What was she really trying to say? And more importantly, how long had she been thinking about this before anyone else even knew there was a problem? Before there was a Chris Martin in any of this, there was already a Gwyneth Paltrow, and she was not waiting in the wings for anyone. By the time the two of them met, she had already won an Academy Award. She stood on that stage in 1999, 26 years old, crying through her acceptance speech for Shakespeare in Love, and the whole industry decided she was the next great American leading lady. She was Hollywood royalty. Her father was a respected television director. Her mother is Blythe Danner, a celebrated stage and screen actress. Gwyneth grew up around the work, around the discipline, around people who took their craft seriously. She had range. She had the pedigree. She had the Oscar at an age when most actresses are still fighting for a callback. She did not need a rock star to make her interesting. She was already one of the most photographed, most discussed women in the world. Remember that, because it matters for everything that comes next. She was not a woman who got famous by marrying him. If anything, the fame ran the other way. They met in late 2002, backstage at a Coldplay concert, just 3 weeks after Gwyneth's father died. And that detail is the whole story right there. She was grieving. She had just lost the man who shaped her, the man who understood her, and into that raw, open wound walked a soft-spoken English musician who wrote songs about heartbreak and longing and looking up at the stars. Chris Martin was gentle with her at exactly the moment she had nothing left to hold on to. He did not push. He let her be sad. To a woman in mourning, that kind of quiet tenderness can feel like being rescued. They married a few months later, in December 2003, a small ceremony, no spectacle. By then, she was already pregnant. Their daughter, Apple, arrived in May of 2004. Their son, Moses, followed in April 2006. From the outside, it looked like a fairy tale built fast and built real. The golden actress and the thoughtful rock star, 2 creative people raising 2 beautifully named children far away from the noise. And for a while, the world believed in them completely. They were the couple that did it differently. They kept their relationship private when everyone else was selling theirs. They split their time between London and Los Angeles. He wrote, she acted, they protected the children from cameras. Coldplay became one of the biggest bands on the planet, filling stadiums on every continent. Gwyneth kept working, kept winning, and somewhere in there she started building something of her own that would eventually become bigger than any film role. A little newsletter she sent out from her kitchen called Goop. They looked for the better part of a decade, like proof that 2 famous people could actually make it work. But somewhere around 2010, something shifted, and at first, nobody could have named it. There was no scandal. There was no other woman screaming for attention on a red carpet. There was just distance. The kind of distance that builds so slowly, you do not notice it happening until you look up one day and realize the person across the breakfast table has become a polite stranger. He was on the road. Coldplay tours stretched on for months, continent after continent, hotel after hotel. She was deepening into her own world, and that world was looking less and less like his. Gwyneth was becoming a wellness entrepreneur, obsessed with clean eating, with cleanses, with macrobiotic diets and infrared saunas, and a kind of disciplined, optimized living that defined her every waking hour. Chris was a musician who liked things a little messier, a little more spontaneous, a man whose whole art was built on feeling rather than structure. She gave up gluten and dairy and processed sugar. He wanted to order a pizza. That sounds small, almost funny, but it is not small at all. The way 2 people eat is the way 2 people live. And slowly, quietly, they were living 2 completely different lives under one roof. Friends started to notice that they were rarely photographed together anymore. They started to notice she would arrive at events alone, that he would tour and she would not follow, that the two of them had stopped finishing each other's sentences and started managing each other instead. There was the 2013 Met Gala, the first Monday in May, one of the most photographed nights of the year. Gwyneth arrived at the top of those famous steps, dressed immaculately, cameras flashing everywhere. Kris was on tour in Europe, halfway across the world. That same week, Beyoncé and Jay-Z were posing together. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds walked the carpet arm in arm, and Gwyneth Paltrow smiled for the cameras completely alone. Nobody made a big deal out of it then. She had gone to plenty of events solo before, but later, looking back, that was the moment people pointed to. The night she showed up to one of the most public relationship events in the world and did not even pretend he was coming. She knew it then. She knew it when friends started asking how Kris was doing, and she realized she had not actually talked to him in days. She knew it when the breakup rumors started circulating later that year, and her public denials felt hollow even to herself. Then came the realization, and this is the part the jokes always missed. There was no single dramatic discovery, no lipstick on a collar, no late-night confession. There was something quieter and far more devastating. Gwyneth woke up one day and understood that she and Kris were no longer growing toward each other. They were growing apart, and they had been for years, and pretending otherwise was costing both of them their actual lives. She has talked since about how hard those years were, how she did not want to fail at marriage, how the idea of breaking up a family terrified her down to her bones. This was a woman who had lost her own father, who knew exactly what it meant for children to lose the shape of their family. She was not going to do that carelessly. So she did what so few people have the strength to do. She looked straight at the truth instead of looking away. And the truth was that the marriage had already ended emotionally long before either of them was willing to say the words out loud. Whatever final straw existed, it was not a betrayal. It was honesty catching up with both of them. By 2013, they were quietly living mostly separate lives. The decision had, in a sense, already made itself. All that was left was to be brave enough to admit it. This is where Gwyneth made the decision that got her ridiculed and that history is slowly proving was right. In March of 2014, on her own Goop website, she and Kris announced their separation, but they did not do it the usual way, with a cold lawyer's statement about respecting privacy during a difficult time. They published an essay. They called it Conscious Uncoupling, and the internet lost its mind. Comedians built entire monologues around it. People decided she was insufferable, out of touch, a wealthy woman so removed from reality that she could not even get divorced like a normal person. What almost nobody did was actually read what she was trying to say. The idea was simple, and it was not even really hers. It came from therapist Catherine Woodward Thomas, who created a structured approach to help families survive separation. The whole point was this: you can end a marriage without ending a family. You can stop being husband and wife without becoming enemies. You can choose deliberately and consciously to protect the children from the war that usually comes with divorce. That is what conscious uncoupling actually means, not a punchline, a promise. And the way each of them carried it afterward tells you everything. Chris Martin, to his credit, never fought her on it. He went and did what he does, which is pour everything into the music. Coldplay's next album, Ghost Stories, was openly written about the heartbreak of that separation. He turned the pain into songs and sang them in stadiums to hundreds of thousands of people. He grieved out loud, the way an artist grieves, by making something the whole world could hear. Gwyneth grieved quietly, but she did something harder. She put the promise into practice. She did not write a tell-all. She did not give the bitter interviews. She did the daily, unglamorous, exhausting work of staying in a real relationship with the father of her children. The two of them went on family vacations together. They sat in the same room for the kids' milestones. When she remarried, when Kris moved on, they folded each other's new partners into the same extended family rather than drawing battle lines through their children. And this is the contrast that the jokes never let people see. While the world was laughing at her for being soft, she was actually doing the hardest version of divorce there is. Anyone can slam a door, anyone can hire the meanest lawyer in town and torch the whole thing on the way out. What almost no one can do is end a marriage with so much grace that the children barely feel the ground move beneath them. He wrote songs about the heartbreak. She built a life around making sure that heartbreak never reached Apple and Moses. He turned his heartbreak into stadium anthems. She turned hers into a shield around her children. She figured it out first. That is the part that matters. She was the one who saw the truth before he was ready to, the one who named it, the one who designed a softer landing for everyone before the fall even happened. She did not wait around hoping he would change or that the distance would close on its own. She looked at a marriage that no longer fit the woman she had become, and she had the courage to say so, gently, and to mean it. Remember when I told you she was already the famous one? That she did not need him to be interesting? That is why she could leave. She was never dependent on his shine. She had her own. The laughter got it completely wrong. Conscious uncoupling was never about being precious. It was about being grown. It was a woman refusing to let the end of love become the beginning of cruelty. Most divorces leave behind wreckage that the children spend decades cleaning up. Gwyneth Paltrow looked at that and decided her kids deserved better, and she actually delivered it. Years later, with Gwyneth remarried to Brad Falchuk and Chris in a long-term relationship with Dakota Johnson, and the children grown into steady young adults, the joke does not look like a joke anymore. It looks like the smartest thing anyone in that whole circus ever did. She did not leave Chris Martin because she stopped caring. She left because she cared enough to stop pretending, and because she loved her family enough to protect it even from herself. That is not weakness wrapped in wellness language. That is one of the bravest things a woman can do. This is the picture I want to leave you with. Years after the world finished laughing, Gwyneth and Chris stood together at their daughter Apple's college graduation in 2026, surrounded by their extended blended family, 2 former spouses, 2 new partners, 1 unbroken family, smiling like people who had achieved what nobody thought possible. The joke was on everyone who underestimated her. She was not being ridiculous. She was being right. Was conscious uncoupling really the joke everyone made it out to be? Or was Gwyneth Paltrow simply ahead of her time? I have a feeling the women watching this understand exactly what she was trying to do. Next, we are pulling back the curtain on another famous marriage that ended far more quietly than the headlines ever let on.